Hi everyone, thanks for joining us for Politically Incorrect Knitters. I'm Deplorable Knitter and I'm joined as always by the lovely Pinkava. And today we have a little bit of knitting news and a whole lot of other stuff to talk about. So Anne, what you got? Let's go.
We're going. Okay, knitting news first.
Knitting news, let's get on it.
Okay, first off, I got my very exciting knitting pattern all the way from England that I thought was digital and isn't. But look, they wrapped it up so nice for me.
It is very pretty.
It's
She's
very
opening
nice.
it live to see if it's so fancy or if it's just a regular pattern.
I know. Does it smell special, guys? That's the question. No, it just smells like paper.
Well, at least it doesn't smell bad. I mean, that could be worse.
There's the slightest smell of swimming pool about it. Maybe that's a special England smell. I wouldn't know. But, oh, wait. This isn't just normal paper. This is like a nice plastic fold out. This is like a magazine insert. That's some fancy stuff.
Very cool. I mean, if you're going to spend, what, 15 pounds on it or something?
It was 15 pounds, which equaled to 20 bucks.
Oh my gosh.
And like I said, okay, this is nicer than I had assumed, but still 20 bucks.
A lot of
like I said, I could have bought the book for 30.
Well, you live and learn.
I know. But I mean, at the same time, England, it used to, I remember in my wee teenage years that it was almost $2 to a pound, and then it went down to about $1.50. So like the exchange rate, not so hot right now.
Don't worry, Biden's gonna fix that for you.
I know. Not that I'm complaining that I want to pay $25 for this pattern. You know, how much is for the postage?
Hard. He's working hard to get that exchange rate back to the ridiculousness that you remember it being. And
don't worry. I don't think they're particularly want England's pound to do well either. So
no, it's funny that you say that though, because when you were in your wee teenage years was actually when I was a bank teller, and so I very vividly remember the exchange rate being about that.
Right.
So there you go. Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah, well, makes sense. But yeah, other knitting news. I made another Papa hat and a half. You know what it looks like, just more.
Blue, pink letters, Papa.
Says Papa, yeah. Seriously, those anime nerds. Well, there's a new Phoenix Wright game coming out too.
Oh.
So yeah.
I was wondering what was, because you know, you sold those sporadically, but I was wondering what was like pushing this sudden surge. So that makes sense.
Yeah, and
so
I
have to figure out what else is in it.
I know, I'll have to get the new game.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. This one is like old-timey Japan, but you're still a lawyer. If I remember correctly, it's 1902 Japanese lawyer goes to London to see their legal system is the video game.
That's a weird video game, but hey.
I love it though. Well, because of that, that was the first time I had heard about Natsumi Soseki, who is like the modern author of Japan. He's really good. Like, Soseki is awesome stuff. Anyways, sideline. Kokoro, incredible, but not important. This is still knitting news. But for our Hats for Sailors knit along, we have, I promised very faithfully that I was only going to make the plainest of hats. I was going to be so boring. Yeah. Those dudes are going to get plain old hats that they really will wear, and then I made this. So
I like it. It's not bad.
Well, I figured I started out and my Newt Scamander color scheme, because I'm thinking, you know, primary colors and gray. Mm-hmm. Dudes like plain color. So I was originally just going to have that little bit of blue at the bottom, then a little bit of yellow, and then I realized that my gray was already running much faster than I thought it was. I only had the one ball. Like heck, I'm striping it. But
it's pretty, though. I like it.
So yeah, it's nice. It strikes me as being a little bit 70s, like a little bit sporty, you know?
Yeah, with that mustard yellow kind of accent. I see it, but it's all right. That's good.
Anyways, it's fun. It's just a ribbed hat. It is definitely in the 100% wool and not super wash side of things, because I'm just using bits and bobs.
Yeah.
But yeah,
cool.
It's good.
Good. So, is it my turn?
It is. What do you got?
Okay, so this is not a hat I made, but it is for the Hats for Sailors. So this is a watch cap. It's got, like 4 inches of ribbing, and then it's just a regular hat with a, I don't know if you can see it, but it kind of is like a big X on top, the way my mom decreased it.
Okay.
But
A little dark, but yeah.
Yeah, but this is a really pretty green that we got from Malbrigo. It's 100% superwash bulky yarn. And she's working on her 3rd one as we speak, because I swear I've just been like super busy the past few weeks. Like I have been knitting on the same hat. If you follow me on Instagram, or I think I even put it in my newsletter last week, like I'm still working on the same one. The same one I've been working on. It needs like 2 more inches before I can even start decreasing. So, and she's put out 3, so whatever. But that's what I've been working on. And I'm making a blanket for a wedding. So I haven't really been knitting because I've been crocheting. So that's been taking up my time.
Yeah, well, I guess I should have brought it over, but I do have a larger portion of the Rockefeller shawl that I had completed. And then I had it's a portion where you make a fan and then you put a part of it on waste yarn and you pick up stitches. Well, I haven't picked up any stitches yet because I had to use that pair of needles for the Papa hat. So I'm like, okay, put this aside. I finished this bit.
That's funny.
And then I'm like, I better make 2 because the last time I've sold the first within a week and I'm like, I have to make another one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Excess is painful.
Like you said, it's cool. New game's coming out. So, and then this is not knitting related, but I wanted to show it off. I got this from, I got to get the tag. I got a new bag. And it is from upcycledmilitarybags.com. Okay. So all of this is like old canvas or tenting or whatever from military stuff. And I, because we're going to be homeschooling, I'm going to be teaching. I just wanted like a nice tote that I could put lunches in and stuff. It's nice and big and deep and, and so I was looking around online and I was looking on Amazon and every single thing I liked was from China. And so then I did a search and she sells on Etsy, but I really liked her stuff and it's the only place she sells. So it's got a zippered pocket on the back. It's got a deep pocket on the front here. Nice. It's got leather straps. I mean, for the price of it, it's really awesome. It's got a couple of, like little envelope pockets in here. You can just slide things into with another zippered pocket. So my school bag is going to totally be an awesome military bag. And she's really nice. And a portion of every one of her sales goes to the Gary Sinise Foundation. So I think Gary Sinise is conservative. I did some looking into it. I was happy to support her business because she wasn't telling me I was trash or, anything like that. So it worked out nicely. I'm really pleased with it. I just got that last week. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I have going on. Next week, I'll show you the blanket because this week it's not that far along. Oh, but next week we're going to have a cast. Well, I guess I'll put a picture in. So
maybe the week after, have people dying with anticipation.
No, because the week after it will already be gifted.
Oh,
it's coming up. It's another thing I've got to get done.
Right.
And it's only this wide so far. So, it'll come together.
You can always take a picture of it afterwards and put it in.
I will. So that's all I have. Just a little tiny bit of knitting. I was so busy going to see Dave Matthews and going to the amusement park and having birthday parties. We had a birthday party on Saturday and Sunday. Too busy to knit, guys. Sorry.
Sounds like fun though.
It was, but now I need to go take like 3 days worth of naps, but whatever, it'll work out. So where do you want to start?
Who wants to start? No one want
to see my notes for this week? I was doing this while I was knitting outside and the kids were in the pool. So I found some Post-it notes on my husband's desk and they're just random tiny notes. I don't even know what order they go in.
I don't know. Are the notes werescrewed.gov? Because that's kind of what I'm thinking. But yeah, so this past week, so I'm sitting there and I open up my email and it's spiked online. I'm like, the Afghan conflict. I'm like, that is not the context of those words usually in a knitting context. The Afghan disaster. I'm expecting like there's a hole in the middle and you frogged it and you're like, there's ends.
Right.
No, that is
not any of that. It's a disaster. All of it.
Yeah,
So
gosh, I mean, from the beginning, you have, John Kirby with this is a factual drawdown. I'm like, yes, we always planned to burn paperwork at the last minute and leg it to the roof. Like, we always planned to leave weapons out and just like a field full of weapons for the Taliban in Afghanistan. Yeah, that's a good one.
yeah, I didn't catch the former president's rally this weekend, but I did see the part where he was saying, you get your people out, you blow your shit up so that they can't get it, and then you leave. Like, that makes a lot more sense than whatever this nonsense is that's been going on. Like, who planned it? And the military leaders are like, oh, we didn't foresee this. Dude, you guys left a vacuum. What do you think is going to fill it?
Right.
It's not rocket science.
We sat there. We came in. We partnered with the worst group. We chose the winners in Afghanistan, who are the worst people, who are not the Taliban, and then wondered why the Taliban took over so quickly. Like, what? Seriously. And I did listen to Trump this past weekend, and he, like, you could tell that he was upset about it. Just,
well, yeah.
But I mean, everyone is, but
I said to my mom, I was pregnant with my last kid in 2015. And so it was the end of Obama's presidency. And it was at the point where, like, every time you turned on the news, they were talking about like Iraq and Afghanistan, and like everything was just horrifyingly bad. And I was telling my mom, like, in like 2 weeks, I feel the same way I did after all those years of Obama. Like, it's amazing how quickly it all just went in the crapper, like, so fast.
I know. And I mean, for how many years have we been in Afghanistan and our media not said anything about it? Now, this is the crappiest way to leave, but it's like, oh, by the way, this is not a commonly known thing, but this veteran in the war and that veteran of the war of, oh, by the way, a lot of times, the Afghan soldiers would come into work high and don't plan any mission after payday, because no one will show up. Always plan it before, and just crap like that. Yeah. And another fun one is at the base they had Boy Love Thursday, because every day of the week would have been a little too decadent, and if any American soldier said, hey, that's wrong, that bringing young boys in is not, then the American soldiers got in trouble. And I'm like, what? This has been like a couple things like that, but could we have addressed these issues before? And I mean, some stuff before, like the Bush administration being against sending missionaries to Afghanistan, something that would have had effectual change, that it's our Department of Education running the Department of Education in Afghanistan, because they're so hot at home, and just disaster after disaster. And us thinking, the American forces, if we can come in and have air support, and that's going to really change the minds of the Taliban. Like, that's really going to be long-term change. It
was all done poorly, but the fact that we just like abandoned our stuff and just let them come in and take it. Now they have all of our stuff. They have all of our weapons and tanks, and like nobody thought that if we take our military out of here, they're going to go in and take our stuff. Right. Like that's common sense. I have to tell my kids, like, when one of them goes to the bathroom, you can't take your siblings' toys. Yeah. Like, it's what people do. It's not like it's rocket science.
Yeah.
My brain hurts.
I know. No, it's so stupid. And it, in principle of this war, we first had the Afghanistan war and the Iraq war, and what did we think it was? We said, hey, there's terrorism here, so if we stop terrorism there, we can stop terrorism from spreading across the world.
Right.
We did not do well.
No, we didn't. You know what I heard today, though, that I thought was really interesting? China is looking into providing financial assistance to Afghanistan. Did you hear that?
I didn't, but I know that both China and Russia is officially recognizing the Taliban as a legitimate government. And it may have something to do with the over $1 trillion worth of lithium mines that they have. And they've already started copper mining.
That could be, but also the story that I heard, which I thought was really interesting, is, you know, China doesn't like the Uyghur population, right?
Yeah.
And Afghanistan is made up of Muslims, right? Which is what the Uyghurs are.
Uh-huh.
And so do you think that maybe China is giving them financial assistance so they don't go bomb the shit out of China because they're oppressing Muslims? Maybe?
On one hand, yes, but on the other hand, I lean much more towards this being some sort of a money laundering operation in which
I'm not saying that it doesn't have to do with, like,
helicopters.
yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't have to do with other stuff too, but it also seems to make sense to me. Like, hey, yeah, we like to hurt Muslims. And you're a country full of them, and now you just suddenly got all the U.S. stuff. So maybe we'll like.
No, you see,
I don't know.
if that would make more sense to me if anyone in the Muslim world has given a darn about the Uyghurs until now.
Okay, that's true. I'll give you that.
So, you know, like, it's not impossible, but I'm like, no, because nobody's cared.
They haven't cared this long, so why would they now? I get it, but
I mean, they now have more Black Hawk helicopters than the country of New Zealand. So, oh, speaking of New Zealand, Prime Minister Ardern. So she said she begged the Taliban to make sure that there's white rights to those women and girls in Afghanistan. Rights like going to school and working. Yeah, funny thing is, next day she said, Tier 4 lockdown, everybody. Nobody has the rights to go to school or work. So she's equal opportunity. But don't worry, it'll only be for 4 days. Guess what?
I think it's been longer than 4 days, hasn't it?
It has been. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But one guy died of COVID. Shut down both islands. Not everybody.
Yeah, like the whole country of Australia shut down because they had like 4 people die out of like 25 million, or I don't know how many people are in Australia. I just remember hearing 4 people and 25 million. So wherever that was that happened, they're using these numbers and these things that are just, I mean, in my age group, I'm 10 years older than Anne, so I'm therefore a higher risk of getting COVID. In my age group, 5.9 people out of 100,000 will be hospitalized for COVID. That's not deaths, that's just hospitalized. And I don't know about you guys, I'm not a great math person, but this seems like okay odds, like, to me. 6 out of 100,000, I feel like I'm okay. I'm gonna go to the concert, or I'm gonna go to the water park. Man, I am not dying of COVID yet, and I was everywhere last week. I was around hundreds of people. You know,
I know, and the younger you go, you work, the better you are too.
Yeah, my kids are like 3%.
Unless you have
100,000.
Yeah, you're getting into toe in the blender level of statistical danger.
Yeah, and when I say this, I am not discounting that it's real or that people have gotten sick or that they've died. I'm just saying that the odds of getting severely ill from it are very low. And for most people who are healthy, that risk is okay. That's all I'm saying. That, you know, and if it's not, stay home.
Yeah, but the odds of getting pepper sprayed in the face if you're a child in Australia is very high.
Oh yeah, that's what they've been doing. Did you know that the whole country is looking for some 27-year-old guy who is COVID positive, who went in an elevator without a mask on and was sneezing, and everybody was flipping out?
Yeah, it's a manhunt, and it's just like. Also, he's just like it. Go for freedom, us elevator man.
Crazy 27-year-old. Ant's your new best person. You can go date him when you're done.
Yeah. Weird 27-year-old. I won't say call me, but no.
I'm sorry.
Also in Australia, because, you know, which tyrannical dictatorship do you want to talk about? You want to talk about the Taliban? You want to talk about Australia? You know,
I saw all week I've seen the things about like Australia is a criminal colony again. They're locked down. Nobody can leave. Nobody can go anywhere. It's funny how things kind of circle back, don't they?
That's right.
Sorry.
Just like sorry, just another, again, more stupid things that Jen Psaki said that, like our people aren't stranded. We just can't like physically get them back to America.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I was
their
told to find
hearts
that
are
clip.
free. So
I was told to find that clip. I can't find it. I cannot
Okay.
find it anywhere because I don't think they want me to know stuff. Go figure, huh?
Crazy stuff. Well, so someone in Australia sent me this video. Is by a guy called the Aussie Cossack. He's on YouTube. He does independent journalism. Okay, they were staking out his house. The cops were outside his house for 3 days, and he had official permission to go to work. So he was driving to work, and they stopped him. They claimed it was 8:30 in the morning. And they claimed it was a targeted drug test.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and it's like, again, he doesn't do drugs. It's 8:30 in the morning, which is not a normal time most people would be doing drugs, I would think. Like if you're pulling people
you're
over for a
hardcore, it doesn't
DUI,
matter.
why would you do 8:30 in the morning before you go to work?
Right.
But
Right. Okay.
seems improbable.
Right.
And there was like, cars down the street and at least 5 cops there. And they had him take a drug test where you scrape your tongue, and he didn't want to take it because again, if they're running after one guy for having COVID and not turning himself in, like if the policeman says you have COVID now, how are you going to go in the back of the paddy wagon? Like he's seriously concerned, and his wife is in the car. So he ends up taking the drug test, and he tells his wife to keep the camera focused on the other guy. And the cop who didn't give him the test is talking to him. And he said, so do you own a car with this license plate? And he says, yes, I do. And he said, well, you were cited for a speeding violation on June 1st. Can you confirm it was you driving? And he said, no. Like, why do I remember where I was on June 1st?
Right.
And he's like, no, he's like, I don't know if it was me or my wife or anybody. I don't believe you. And he said, well, then you're not complying with the thing. He's like, I don't have to turn myself in. I don't know. I don't remember. And it's just like trying to nail this guy for anything they can. And it's just horrendous.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of makes me wonder, like, what are the police doing? Aren't there issues elsewhere that they need to be attending to?
I know. Well, I mean, like in the other happy Isle of England, where they now have rainbow cars, to prevent hate crimes. They can turn you in online. And I'm like, yeah, so stabbings in London still super high.
Hate crime cars.
That's right. Well, they don't seem to be helping those anti-Semitic attacks, which are also going up against Orthodox Jews in London. And, and so with my Israeli beanie, I follow several Jewish accounts on Instagram. And one of the ladies is saying like, hey, that she never thought that she would have to give her kids the, hey, anti-Semitism is a big deal talk. Like she's worried that her kids will see it much more than she ever has. Like this is a very real concern.
I swear, my head is just, the minute we started talking, I have like this headache that is just, because I can't understand. This is not the world. This is not the way the world is supposed to be. Let me just tell you.
Well, and not to make it worse.
Oh,
oh yeah, don't worry. We can keep going.
There's more.
Oh, there's more. Well, this is, again, a story that is about a week old, but, we had an interview last week. But Department of Homeland Security saying that potential terror threats include, I wrote this down, opposition to COVID measures, claims of election fraud or belief that Trump can be reinstated. And the third one is 9/11 anniversary and religious holidays. So I don't know if they're thinking that around those are, like, if celebrating those is the issue, or like they're worried about threats on those days. But connecting, I know the whole Whitmer thing was fun. So what's going to happen in September? Yeah,
I don't know.
What y'all planning? Because I'm a little concerned over here.
But that's similar to something I wrote down. So pretty much anybody who's watching us, follows us, thinks like us, is a domestic extremist. I heard this from Jim something or other. He's a congressman. that was on
Jim Jordan, maybe?
No Burns. Is there a guy named Jim Burns? His name was something similar to that. I don't know who he was, to tell you the honest truth. But he said that they know big tech is watching people who are Trump supporters, Second Amendment supporters, medical freedom, anything like that, that they are.
Which is also
purposely
funny
watching
because,
us.
again, for years, the medical freedom people, that hasn't necessarily been a conservative issue.
No, it has
Like
not.
you think of the hippy dippy liberal girls with
Yeah.
their NPR tote bags and
Yeah, the little crunchy hippie girls that vegan and you know baby-led breast.
even though the homesteader types and the vegans don't normally get along together because anyone who homesteads suddenly finds out that protein's awesome. But besides that,
right, but the whole yeah, it wasn't a thing. And but yeah, so big tech is watching us. Like, I turn off all the services on my phone and stuff, but I still use Facebook and Instagram, and they know everything that they probably know everything I'm thinking, honest to God. Like, I'm sure by now. I looked at one thing for my kids for homeschooling, and now I've got 700 ads every day about it. Like, they know what we're doing and what we're thinking, and that's just how it is. So yeah, so we're domestic extremists. So there you go. Well, how about this? Did you hear that the Supreme Court ruled that the Trump stay in Mexico policy should be reinstated immediately? So asylum seekers should stay in Mexico while their case is being reviewed. We'll see if it actually happens, because we all know that the Supreme Court said that the CDC can't talk about what can happen with evictions, but they still did, and people are still following what the CDC said. So it's anybody's guess as if the administration is going to pay attention, but that's what happened. The Supreme Court said that we have to go back to Trump's policy because we have so many people coming in.
right.
So,
And even more from Afghanistan too now, which, okay, so again, back to Afghanistan, Afghan disaster, remember? Where that, okay, so they're saying get our people out, get Americans out, get, loyal Afghanis who would then be in trouble with the Taliban, get them out. And Glenn Beck, though, I mean, if I've spoken to you personally, you know that I am not the biggest fan of Glenn Beck. He does a lot of good work, but sometimes I'm just like, whew. But anyways, he's been supporting the Nazarene Fund that has been getting people out. So good on them. But yeah, that, with trying to get Christians out of Afghanistan because they're a huge target right now. But also before us now quitting Afghanistan, that we've had 50,000 Afghanistan people, former translators, other things, immigrating to America. Okay, that roughly accounts for 1 for every 2 soldiers. So I'm kind of seeing a bit of a racket, like how much of this is honest. And there's already one guy who, we've barely gotten anybody out, and already one of the guys that we did get out was on the ISIS watch list, no fly list. And they're like, oh no. And imagine how big the guy's file must have been in order for them to catch him, considering the people they don't catch.
It's ridiculous. And I mean, my husband's watching the local news, and he's like, they've got them in our nearest city.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're just busing them wherever they can. Like, they don't know who these people are. I hope that they're good people. I hope that they really wanted to get out and were good, freedom-loving people, but we don't know anything about them. But here, we've flown them into all our cities. So,
right. And not only yay, are they good freedom-loving people? It's like, well, what if they're like, woohoo, America is cool, but also not woohoo, the women shouldn't be educated and work? What if that is what they're bringing with them, that's offensive to them?
Yeah, burqas.
Yeah, like, so that's a problem that will create cultural conflict.
Yeah. And I'm not saying we shouldn't welcome people in who are in trouble, not even a little bit, but I mean, we have thousands of people packed into a plane that carries 200. How do we know who all these people are? It's chaos over there. It's complete terror. People are doing anything they can to get out. We don't know who they are.
Right.
And now here they are in my city, which I hope they're fabulous, but we don't know.
Right. And also with what our mission in Afghanistan ought to have been, with the very foundation of that. Again, I always quote Mark Stein, but it's the whole that England is the mother of parliaments. But America was always like the spinster sister who really had no intention of dating. That we're not good at propagating. There's not a colonialist bone in our body, even to the extent we're not really willing. We're not sure of ourselves. Like America, freedom, liberty, the important essential duty of a republic, all of this, and of our citizenry to propagate liberty for the future. But we go to Afghanistan and we're like, so we're not sure that we should tell you that Boy Love Thursday's a no.
Yeah, and really? It makes me wonder what the hell was going on the whole time. But
yeah, but that, and this view, and I've said this before about the Statue of Liberty, that the Statue of Liberty, we put the plaque on it, but it was not to welcome people in. That the Statue of Liberty is facing outward to be a light of liberty for all nations around the world. That yes, there is liberty in America, but the light is outward, that we should spread our ideals outward. And I've had some people message and talk to me this week that are from other countries, normally Commonwealth countries. People from Australia and Canada, and there's the sentiment in England too, though, while people in America love liberty, I want to come to America. And I want to, I want people to come to South Dakota. On one hand, I'm like, I'm sure you'd be an awesome neighbor. I'm sure you'd be a credit. I'm sure, that you'd be great here and you'd enjoy it and it's a great place. But also like, no, I want you to love liberty. I want there to be liberty all around the world.
Where you are. Be the person that is the one that is showing people how to do it. And a great way that we've been doing it here, because we haven't even talked about this yet, but Pfizer was approved by the FDA. Never mind that there's still 2 years of trials left, but it was approved. So now companies can mandate it without people saying, I want to wait till the trial's done and stuff, because now it's FDA approved, which changes everything. But a good example of people standing up for their liberties is the people who are protesting that and going to the school board meetings and talking about masks. And, freaking, we got our new governor yesterday. And first thing she does is says that schools are going to have masks and that all teachers are going to have to be vaccinated or get tested every week. First thing, very first thing. And it's like, even Cuomo hadn't gotten to that point yet. And it's kind of like, are you doing this to make your own mark? Do you truly believe this? Is it just an easy way to put your stamp on? I don't know, but you got to start in Australia, in England, in Canada, be the beacon of liberty. Be the people that are like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. Right. And when you have you seen the meme? The guy standing there with the whip and all the people are bowing down. And then one person stands up and so he can still whip that one person. But then half the people stand up. And then at the end, he's cowering in fear in front of the masses. That's how it happens. You stand up, other people see you standing up, and then it spreads. And that's something to do everywhere, not just here, but we really need to do it here because it's going to get bad fast with the whole vaccine thing.
Right. And I mean, even with the other Commonwealth countries, well, I want to come to America. We are like that, like you and me, and we're like this. So,
yep.
But yeah, and that's, not just Commonwealth countries, but throughout the world that, Trump used to say with countries, well, they're not sending us their best. Well, we should only vet the best citizens. But this is, and you see this with a lot of South American countries, that the people with the real get up and go spirits, that they leave and they go to America, oftentimes illegally, but sometimes legally. So there goes your best and brightest of your population, and they're going somewhere else. And I'm like, well, if they're the best and brightest, why don't they stay in their own country and make it better?
Yes.
That's what people need everywhere. Even, you see little small towns around America where all the young people have left and they just slowly die out. And you want that spirit, you want that innovation. But yeah, all around the world.
Yeah. I don't know if this ties in, but I heard that there is a possibility of another false flag event going on soon about like vaccines and stuff, and that it's going to be used as an excuse to give up firearms.
Oh,
So
yeah.
remember, friends, that we have rights and we've had them for 232 years, and it's because of the Constitution. And therefore, don't let them take your guns. Don't let them take your liberty. It's kind of like a thing we already have. But if we just roll over and give it away, then, you know, we only have ourselves to blame.
It's very true. And it's also, I mean, like we've said before, but there's truth and there's the rule and there's the law. And but there is also what people act like is true. That if you have a governor who is out there and saying, well, this is the law, well, the governor doesn't really have that power. Well, if everyone acts as if the governor has that power and that it's true and they do it, well, then, then it is so. And it's sort of kind of a fruity speak it into existence sort of thing, but that's what happens if everyone listens.
The CDC evacuation mandate that I mentioned earlier, that is a prime example of this. People need to start saying, no, the CDC can't mandate this.
Right.
But nobody is, and so therefore it's law. Because if nobody says, hey, that's not how this works, then that's what happens. Right. And we've got to start being those parents. We've got to start being those people. I was going to say parents because I'm thinking about school boards, but I know I've been talking about a lot, but school boards are the place to start, guys. It is start small, start local. Let people know what you think, for real.
Yeah, with the school boards and everything. And it's very much well, the problem seems too big and there's so much to do, and you just have to start with the problem in front of you.
So this is advice my mom gave me. I got married when I was 21 and I started getting divorced when I was 25. So I felt like a huge failure, right? Because who wants to be 25 and getting divorced? Right, pretty shitty. And I would have like stress about it. Like I knew it was the right choice. That was never the issue. It was more like, what are other people going to think of me? What am I going to do? Like it was like very large problems. And when I was going through it, my mom said, you can't worry about all of this. Worry about what's right here. If you can't get through the whole day, get through the next hour. And that's kind of what we need to start doing. You can't fix the world. Like it's too big of a problem, but you can go down to your school board, you can go down to your city hall, you can start making little dents into things without it being an issue that is going to like terrify you and overwhelm you. And I think that that's what people have to start doing. Do one little thing at a time. Don't worry about the whole picture because that's still going to be there. There's a lot of people, there's people who have more power than we do who are working on bigger things. We need to work here where we are.
Yeah, and it's kind of like Nehemiah in the Bible when they're building the wall around Jerusalem. It's like, well, we have this big wall to build. Build the wall in front of your house. And you want the wall in front of your house to be good because it's the wall in front of your house. And there's probably going to be enemies out there. So you want. Exactly.
That's exactly it, though.
Right.
And there's something going on in California that's really, really speaking to this right now. Do you have more on the whole? Because I want to talk about Larry Elder a little bit.
Oh, a little bit. No, but just that you said, that other people with bigger power, but it reminds me of Willow. And I don't know if you're familiar with that movie, but it's all kind of medieval fantasy, and Willow is from, they're not called hobbits, but it's a little hobbit village, and he wants to be the magician's apprentice. So the magician is choosing the apprentice, and he walks along and he says, okay, there's a line of people, and he says, okay, which finger has the power? And he puts a finger down, and he puts a finger down as people choose it down the line, and Willow chooses the finger and he puts it down. And he says, no apprentice is chosen today. You all failed. And Willow is kind of depressed about this. And the magician comes over. He's like, that's not the answer you wanted to give. What is it? And he said, I wanted to say the finger with the power is my finger. And he said, that was the right answer. That it's not what people are doing over there. It's what you can do here. That we all have a sphere of influence that we can influence positively. And if we can't do well with that, why should we be given anything else? So yeah, anyways, sorry, you wanted to talk about.
No, I just wanted to mention, if you are a person in California that follows us, something that you can work on right now is that there's going to be a recall election on September 14th. And apparently they're really scared of Larry Elder. And I don't know a whole lot about him. I've heard his name before, but before he started running, I didn't really know who he was.
He had a speech in the RNC with Trump.
Yeah, and I know he had a talk show and a radio show or something, but he never was in my world. So, but he's an example of somebody doing something right, because now the LA Times is going out after him, saying that he is the blackface of white supremacy. They're saying that he has been, I think I have it written down, he is so influenced by white supremacist beliefs that he has been like hoodwinked by us terrible people. Like, that's truly what they're trying to sell. And the problem is that he is doing a lot better than Gavin Newsom. And so,
and I mean, there's been trying shenanigans with his campaign. There was a report this week of, ballots for the recall election that haven't happened yet found in a car with like a gun and drugs and stuff.
I know.
And it's like, so we're already starting, are we, cowboys?
Yeah, we've already stolen. That guy had like 300 ballots. So they're scared of him. So especially if that's part of your world, I mean, I'm in New York and in South Dakota, we can't do anything about it. But if you can, I've seen so many liberal knitting accounts that are like, oh, vote no on the recall, vote for Gavin Newsom, blah, blah, blah. The only thing he did wrong was have a fancy dinner without a mask on.
And the amount of gel he has in his hair is quite worrying, I gotta admit.
And the homeless population has exploded since he's been, but whatever.
Yeah, all he did was property values falling. People are running out of California.
I think in the past 6 months, they have lost more small businesses than the first 6 months of the last 3 years. So still, it's quite a large number.
Yeah, I had heard, and this was a couple months ago, but in Los Angeles, that you cannot get a U-Haul out. Like, they are not there, that some people, the more expensive houses and apartments that they're renting, that they're saying first month of rent free because they can't get people in them, that people are booking it out so fast.
That's
and
crazy.
Even with all of, you would assume the more conservative people, but maybe not, leaving California because it's so bad, that, that all would, who's left in California then? Well, enough people that they're concerned about Newsom losing. And also, can you just, again, it's going to take hard work for Larry Elder. It's going to take hard work of people poll watching and the rest of it, keeping their eyes on that, because there's so much likelihood of fraud. And even with the last election, that it doesn't have to be everywhere to be effective. That we have a few counties here and there, and that is incredibly important. But if Larry Elder wins, and I sincerely hope he does, and still fight if he doesn't, but can you imagine like the third California gold rush? Like, if that state could get its head screwed on straight.
Well, they would probably stop leaving in droves, which would be the first step. But we keep going back to Afghanistan. But did you see what Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi were doing this weekend? Well, some Republican people were in Washington trying to get our troops out and our people out. And Chuck Schumer was dancing with Stephen Colbert, and Nancy Pelosi was at a $10,000 plate.
Oh, 30,000 is what I heard.
Okay, so I read 10,000. My mom told me 29. I was erring on the side of cheap. But if you also say it, I'm going to go with 29 then. Right. So $29,000 plate.
Price is right. Don't go over.
I know I didn't write down enough facts today, so I'm trying to err on the side of I know what I'm talking about. But so she's giving a speech to these people, and if you see the pictures, they're at these really long like banquet tables packed in together, like shoulder to shoulder. Nobody is masked except the waiters.
Exactly.
Except the servants.
Yeah.
What's up with that? And what is Schumer doing out dancing with somebody when we're having a freaking crisis in the Middle East?
I know.
Why aren't they worried about this?
I know you couldn't demoralize Americans better if you tried. The American troops, that what is the point of war but to fight until your enemy gives up? And look, we just gave up, and that is an event that would potentially make people pre-give up to other important conflicts around the world. And yet Nancy Pelosi is talking about, to get young people voting, and also, again, the waiter boy, he has to keep a mask on because he's filthy, because he might have disease. I, however, am the clean and the enlightened among us. And also, I'm just going to pass a several $trillion bill right under your nose and implement bizarre stuff about tracking your car in page 400, whatever of a bill that nobody read, because why do that? Why read when I have to go to dinner?
Well, she pushed it through. She didn't even allow them to debate on that.
Yeah.
I don't know what loophole she used, but she was able to push it through without people being able to deal with it. Dang, I was just going to say something. Oh, so the thing about the filthy servers and Nancy Pelosi and her buddies, on a smaller scale, it's similar to the Dave Matthews thing. My brother and I happened to go to the concert before vaccine policies were in place. But now you either have to show that you've had a COVID vaccine to go to a concert, a Dave Matthews concert, or you have to have a printed result of a negative test, which means that in June, I went to my friend's wedding and I had to show that I had a negative test, but I just took an at-home test and took a picture of my negative test.
Right.
That doesn't cut it. You have to have a printed result. So you must have to go somewhere to do it.
Right. And talk about poor tax again, that, well, I can't afford the full doctor visit, or I don't want that extra expense. I don't want to have to pay to go to a concert and then have the extra expense of this.
Oh, when I was trying to go to my friend's wedding, they would not test me. I called my local health department. I called my doctor's office. I maybe could have gone to like a Walgreens or a CVS kind of place to do it. But because I was not showing symptoms, the regular channels would not see me and give me a test, which is why I had to buy an at-home test. So I don't even know how they expect people to get this. But my point is that, it's these rules for thee, but not for me. But it's been proven that people who have been vaccinated can still carry it. So a lot of the pushback, specifically for the concerts, because this is where I was watching it, right? Like, this is where I was watching the whole thing. The pushback was, why don't you have to show that you're negative when you're vaccinated, since everybody knows that anybody can still be carrying it?
Right.
Like, there's just this whole, it's not about public safety. It's not about people not getting sick. It's about control. And that's the problem.
It is.
That's what people need to start realizing.
Right. And I heard, even in Moscow, who you'd think is interested, that Moscow shut down vaccine passports, that the people would not go into businesses where they needed a vaccine to show proof of vaccination. The businesses were going under. They complained to the governments. The government said, oh, science changed. Isn't it funny how that works?
This is what I'm talking about. This is what we need to start doing. People get vaccinated. It's not the vaccine that's the issue. Getting vaccinated is a personal choice. The issue is them mandating what you can and cannot do based on a medical procedure you had done. That's the issue. It's not about whether or not you've had it. And I want people to think, oh, you're into it. I don't care. Don't care. Most of the people in my immediate family have been vaccinated. My husband has been. Like, it's a personal thing. It's not that. It's that if my husband starts leaving me behind to go places because you have to have a vaccine passport and he's that's the issue. It's not, you know what I mean?
Right. Right. And there's a certain amount of, like I said, that in Moscow, nobody, if you had a vaccine or didn't have a vaccine, nobody would go in if they had to tell. It's important.
Right.
In France right now, that nobody is going to any restaurant, because even if you have been vaccinated, well, I'm not going to, that it's looking out for everyone around you. It's saying, hey, you have a choice, I have a choice, and whatever our choices are, that we're not going to accept this for a society.
Right. And that's the issue. People need to start, everybody's like, oh, capitalism is so bad, blah, blah, blah. I bet you if we all started to do this, if we stopped going places where they said, hey, you have to have a vaccine passport, how quickly would it change?
Right.
Because money is still ruler of all. And if businesses are losing money, if government is losing, they're going to change their policy. It's just what's going to happen.
Yeah. And how many people are now firing people because they don't have a vaccine? And that there have been businesses who said, we're mandating vaccines. And then people said, all right, I'm leaving. And then they're like, oh, well, we actually can't keep the doors open now. And like Tyson's Meats right now, that they've mandated vaccines, and they're really hurting for people to work the assembly line, not the assembly lines, the disassembly lines. It's a meat packing, but
I mean, I saw a thing about a dentist's office. They had 4 hygienists that were not vaccinated. They mandated vaccines. The hygienist said, here's my letter of resignation. Well, all of a sudden there were no more vaccine mandates.
Right.
So
right.
It's what it has to be. And it's scary. And it's easy for me to say, especially because I don't work a regular job, right? Like, so I can do whatever I want to because I don't have a big boss above me, but you can't do it. People, if you, especially if you got friends, like get your buddies together and all of you give your letters of resignation. It will make a difference.
Right.
I hope.
And yeah, and I've, people have said, well, it's just me in the office. Well, if you've been keeping quiet about your beliefs, it's not unlikely that other people in your office have been keeping quiet too.
Yep. It's like that meme I saw with the guy whipping everybody, and then people start standing up, and then all of a sudden he's cowering because that's how it works.
Right. And that's not also, as with Afghanistan, which was a short-term solution, which turned into a long-term solution, which turned into a failure. It's also a thing of when you start pushing back, you can't assume that it's all going to change all at once as well. That you will see where the other side caves, but you'll also see where the problems are. And it's not, it's like how people who are now going into school board. Well, there was problems back then, but now they see more direct problems and then they start pushing back. But you can't, again, you ought to push back, but you have to realize that sometimes it is a long game. I mean, other big political figures. I mean, you have, William Wilberforce, who was against slavery in England, and you have Nigel Farage, who both of them, it took 30 years, but it seemed impossible and they did it. And even Abby Johnson with her pro-life legislation, it has taken her years, but she is getting somewhere. You can't, that again, it may take time, or it may take, a generation to change things, but it is not impossible to change those things. And from the opposite side, look at the woke world, that they want what they wanted for, different rights and policies and, or end gender and the rest of it. And we're like, oh, well, that's crazy. Look at how it is implemented now, because they were consistent.
Yep. Well, it's the same. I mean, I've said it before. The left has talking points and they all stick to their talking points and they all march in lockstep. And that's the problem with our side, because we do value people's opinions and people's differences. And so therefore we don't have that consistent messaging, and it changes how we do things. And that's we kind of need to start like, hey, maybe I don't agree with you, but I agree with your right to do that. Almost, we need to start getting into that mindset.
Yeah. And I mean, we've talked about audacity too. Like someone was saying that because of this, the Afghan crisis, that they hoped that Joe Biden resigned, which is another thing. Nobody resigned and no one was fired. This massive failure, and no one was even honorable enough to resign in disgrace. What? Anyways, to the side, but they were hoping that Joe Biden, would leave office, and then they're like, oh, well, then it would be Kamala, and that's better. And I'm like, no. In times of crisis, I call upon Stacey Abrams. Just imagine at any given time what kind of stupid crap Stacey Abrams would pull, and then do that. No, I demand they all resign. I want them all gone. Think of a woman who lost her governorship in Georgia and then still goes on TV as if she won and she knows what she's talking about. Like, get that feeling of audacity. And you're like, and you may be saying, oh, Anne, I'm not qualified. And I'm like, she wrote porn novels under a pseudonym and she thinks she still knows what she's talking about. Just go for it.
Yeah, just do whatever you want to. But seriously, like you said, it might take a generation. But I'm raising kids right now, so it's important to me to do it. And most people who watch us, maybe their kids are grown, but they've got grandkids, nieces and nephews, friends' kids. That's what we have to worry about. I'm far enough through my life. I'm closing in on 40 that I'm not worried about myself so much, but I have young people that I'm worried about. And that's, maybe you're like, oh, I'm too old to, it doesn't matter. Do it anyway, because there's a generation counting on you. There's generations to come that are counting on you.
Right.
That's all I know.
There we go. And on that note,
thanks for watching us, guys.
Yeah.
No, but so guys, join us for our knit along. If you want more information, you can join one of the groups, which will be linked below, or you can check out hatsforsailors.com. They have all the info up there. yeah, so check out hatsforsailors.com or join one of our groups if you want info, because we have it. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, because we have been kicking butt in the, although, you know, we're likely to get dinged again. So make sure you follow us on Rumble.
Exactly.
And, you know, check us out on the socials.
Right. And we will see you there. And see you next week. We should have an interview, so that'll be fun.
We should have an international guest, which will be a first for us. So make sure you check us out. And we'll see you guys next week.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.